What is going on, guys? Your boy Joey 617 coming guys with the video right now. So the scouting combine is this week. Very excited. I am pumped for it. I want to go over the positions for the Philadelphia Eagles and what we really need to acquire this offseason and kind of why this scouting combine is very important for the Eagles, especially with the 3 first-round picks that the Eagles do hold right now. Depending if they still have 3 first-round picks by draft time, it's going to be interesting where this goes. And by the way, guys, I do not have my regular camera. It's broken. Not broken, but my wire ended up breaking. I put a post up about it. I'm kind of using my HD camera. That's why everything looks weird on the camera right now. Yeah, so just letting you know. And I'm keep looking at the place where the camera's supposed to be, and it's not. So, yeah, my fault. So, yeah, I'm going to go into the defensive positions, really, and just what to look at the scouting combine. Now, there's a lot of players in the NBA, in the NFL, that, have really had bad combines. You know what I mean? Some players are nervous. They have bad combines, and then obviously teams take a chance. So you look at the positions. We're empty at linebacker besides T.J. Edwards. We're empty at safety totally, and defensive line needs a lot of help. If I was to go really first, go first in this draft or kind of look at players in the scouting combine, I'm looking at these defensive ends before anything because I think, Aiden Hutchinson's definitely going to be a top 3 pick at this point. I think you can move up for Kayvon Thibodeaux from Oregon. You can move up for Ojabo from Michigan. And Jermaine Johnson could be there out of the top 10. Karlaftis from Purdue is kind of moving up a little bit, and I think the scouting combine's going to put his worth up a lot more. His name has been dragged through a little bit as could be moving into the top 10 as well, so we never really know at this point. But Eagles need a defensive end this year. Derek Barnett is walking the free agency, see where he goes. Brandon Graham is coming off an Achilles injury, and there's really no promise of him even being good next year. So you never know, especially at a later age. When you have an Achilles injury, it's not a good sign. So, hey, if he comes back, and I'm not necessarily saying he has to get sacks, but he's doing this thing, and he's helping defensive tackle, especially helping out Fletcher Cox is one of the huge ones. A down year for Fletcher Cox this year and last year. 2021, 2020, it's been a descending couple years. I want to see Fletcher Cox get back on his feet, and see what he could do, because I think his time is limited within the next couple years where he will get released or traded most likely. Javon Hargrave is the top defensive tackle. He had 8-9 sacks this year, did a really good job. And I think, the Milton Williams, the 3rd-round pick from Louisiana Tech, that's another one that I really am very excited for going into year 2 as of right now. And then you obviously have Tyree Jackson on the outside, more of a rotational guy. You sign a new defensive tackle. I forgot what his name was, something Wren. He probably won't even make the team at this point as the 4th, rotational defensive end, if that's even the case. So as of right now, you go for one of those defensive ends. You check out some of their testing and see what they could do. I think that you could have the best secondary in the world, but we had no. I think our secondary would have actually played a lot better, even though they did play pretty well this year. I think they would have played a lot better if there was more pressure, because the pressure and obviously the coverage is hand in hand. One hand washes the other. That's how it goes. Secondly, you go for the linebacker position, which you're going to be following guys like Nakobe Dean, Devin Lloyd, Christian Harris. There's some really good linebackers out there. I kind of want to see where Devin Lloyd is going to be. I think he's the best linebacker in this draft when it comes to his coverage, when it comes to being physical and barely getting blocked and making good tackles and really doing a good job. So Nakobe Dean is a tackling machine, and Christian Harris, can pretty much cover anybody, but I think Christian Harris will be mostly a 2nd-round pick. T.J. Edwards is literally, this is last year in Philadelphia. They extended him in 2021 to 2022, so this is 1-year deal for T.J. Edwards, and I think they did that either because they're not drafting linebacker or because they want to add another piece to him. And 1979, 1978 is the last time they drafted a linebacker in the 1st round. It would be nice if they changed what they were doing here. If they draft a linebacker in the 1st round, I'll probably be so emotional because you need that thumper in Philadelphia. I mean, take it from the Cowboys book, getting Micah Parsons, where I didn't think he was going to be a good coverage guy. I really didn't think he was going to be a good pass rusher, but the Cowboys really turned him into that. And good for them. They have one of the best players, that could be not like a generational talent, but I think he could become something pretty great if he keeps working at his craft. So this position needs to upgrade. Davion Taylor is just hurt. I think the first combination we found out that worked really well was Davion Taylor and T.J. Edwards, but Davion Taylor was hurt in the offseason. Then he got hurt right before the bye week, so and he was out the rest of the year with the knee injury, so it didn't really help. Singleton is nothing more than a backup, but man, with there's good players around him, he could thrive in this defense. And really, other than that, I don't really think much of any of the other linebackers that are on this roster right now, as of right now. So going to safety, I haven't really looked at a lot of safeties, mostly Kyle Hamilton. That's like the only safety I've looked at, because you know what, at this point, I don't think the Eagles are going after safety in this draft. And if they move in the top 10, I'd rather them get a better defensive end than get a safety at this point. Like I said, I think the pass rush is the heart and soul of this defense, which we did miss. I know that Jonathan Gannon is the defensive coordinator, unfortunately, and I know we wanted him gone, and why we asked ourselves why he had 3 interviews with teams. I have no idea why, but it's just kind of crazy how things work in some way. You have Marcus Williams, you have Jabril Peppers, now you have Landon Collins that's going to get released by Washington. This free up like $6.2 million in cap space. I think Landon Collins is more of an in-the-box safety, obviously. I don't think his coverage is great. I think he's good at blitzing, making tackles, and doing this thing like that. But when it comes to Marcus Williams, the Eagles have been connected to him. The Eagles have been connected to Jabril Peppers as well, because I think at some point, you have to hit on this position. And I think you just have to pay a guy. Unless they bring Rodney McLeod back and then get a guy in free agency, because Rodney McLeod coming back would be a very cheap contract anyway. I'd rather bring him back than Anthony Harris, because Anthony Harris was really nothing but a total bust this year, to be honest, because back in 2020, he led the league in interceptions, and he was coming off of a $11 million franchise tag. And then, I know the defense for the Vikings that year wasn't really good, but he really thrived in that defense, and we picked him up 2 years later, and he really didn't do much of anything for this team. He was a veteran, but other than that, we need young talent at safety. I think one of the biggest mistakes the Eagles made was getting rid of Malcolm Jenkins. And, still to this day, I think he should have been an Eagle the rest of his career. And that really hurt your defense because, number one, Malcolm Jenkins got your defense ready for every game. And he's got a voice, obviously. He commands your defense. And he bandaged up a lot of our secondary, especially for that Super Bowl year. He bandaged up a lot. Whatever position, he could play safety, he could play corner, he could play linebacker. You line him up anywhere you want. In the nickel, anywhere you want, he will take care of it. He bandaged up your defense. We really don't have a piece like that right now at safety that could bandage up, that can move around. I think with Marcus Williams or Jabril Peppers, I think those are 2 obvious choices. Landon Collins could be another choice if they want to go that route too, but I think they should pay one of these guys. I think they will. I don't think they have a choice at this point because they're not going to be able to draft every position in this draft, obviously. So I think going in and getting a Marcus Williams from the Saints, getting a Jabril Peppers from the Giants is going to really help them out a lot in the back end. I think they'll play a lot better here with a better secondary on top of Slay. And, depending on where we're going to the next position, which is cornerback, Andrew Booth Jr. is definitely one guy I am looking at right now. Derek Stingley hasn't really done much since his freshman year because of injury and stuff like that. So that comes into account, but Derek Stingley is definitely in my list, the number 1 corner. Andrew Booth could probably be right neck and neck with Derek Stingley because I think his stock will definitely rise. I'm not a big fan of Sauce Gardner. I know he didn't give up a touchdown last year, but there's just something about him that's telling me that his backtrack speed is not going to be able to catch real fast receivers, like true fast number 1 receivers. I just don't feel like he's going to be he's going to be hyped up to be the corner that everyone thinks he's going to be, but he's not going to turn out to be like that. You know what I mean? So I could be wrong. I'm wrong every year about players in the draft, but that's just what I think about Sauce Gardner. I'm not saying he's not going to be a great corner, but I think he could be somewhat solid, somewhat good for a team. As a number 1, though, we'll just have to wait and see. I just see a lot more out of these other guys like Andrew Booth Jr. that used to be a wide receiver, used to be a punt returner, kick return specialist, became a cornerback, and look what he's doing for Clemson. He did a fantastic job, and he's literally immune to missed tackles where he'd never misses a tackle. His A+ tackling is fantastic. So really, it's about Andrew Booth Jr. or really looking at a guy like not Sauce Gardner, but looking at a guy like Derek Stingley that, you want to take a chance on a guy like that he still has it in him. I think the testing is definitely going to prove that when the combine comes, around this week is going to be very important. So defensively, this whole defense needs a remodel, a rebuild, and really at the end of the day, like, you got to rebuild your defensive line. I think there's some key pieces there. Fletcher Cox is definitely going to be in there next year because of the dead cap hit. You're not going to get rid of him. Jayvon Hargrave is your number one defensive tackle, and obviously, you're really thin at defensive end. We need that middle pass rush. We need to help Javon Hargrave out, and God, we need to help Fletcher Cox out at this point because it's just getting ridiculous. Offensively, I don't really see them going after anything. They can go after a running back later in the rounds. I don't really know if they're keeping Jordan Howard because he's on contract for another year, so I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, I'm tired of them not using Jordan Howard when it counts because they did that this year and they did it the year before that. You know what I mean? Or a couple years ago, whatever, 2019, I should say, at the end of the year when he was ready to play in the wild card against the Seahawks and they didn't put him in for one snap. Really pissed me off. I knew it had to do something with draft, and a 6th-round pick turned into a 5th-round pick that the Eagles were going to have to give up to the Bears at that point in that trade that they made for Jordan Howard. So, I like Kenneth Gainwell a lot. Miles Sanders is due for a contract. I don't know what to say about Miles Sanders. I was kind of upset how they used him because he wasn't even 85% healthy in that Tampa Bay game. He looked like crap. The whole offense looked like crap anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'm not big on paying wide receivers. I mean, I'm not big on paying running backs because these, I would like for this team to plug in running backs. I don't believe in signing guys unless they're generational talent running backs. I don't see a use for guys like that. Miles Sanders is great and everything, but, he's getting hurt a little bit too much. He missed 3 weeks. He missed for almost 3 weeks, and then he showed up in that Tampa game and I don't know what the hell they were doing. They didn't use Boston Scott 3/4 of the game. They didn't use Jordan Howard. They had him in there to block maybe once or something. He wasn't even getting the ball. So, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I think the run game is fantastic. I think the offensive line is pretty good right now. I think they need to draft another right guard. And, Lane Johnson's aging right now. We need to see how his health is. He's had those couple ankle injuries already. Nate Herbig is really good as a backup guard on both sides. He can play left guard, right guard, but he plays right guard very well, probably better than left guard. Jack Driscoll is definitely another guy. He's the starter that ended up getting hurt again. I think he's been hurt like twice already. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens with that. I don't think he's a primary right guard for us, but I think he's solid. I think we can get someone better in there. Brandon Brooks definitely retired, so he's not going to be around. Jason Kelsey's coming back, and you got to find a replacement for him. Tyler Linderbaum's definitely going to be somebody. I kind of want to see where he's going to go. Is are the Giants going to pick him up in the top 10? Well, we'll see what happens, or maybe later than that. We'll see what happens of any teams that take a chance on him. The Eagles have been doing really good with offensive line. Like, they've been doing a fantastic job. Left guard Dickerson, that was a 2nd-round pick. That was coming off a season-ending injury with Alabama, and we didn't know where this was going to go at all. And it looks like it's working out and it's paying off. I think he'd be a Pro Bowler for years to come, right next, lined up right next to Jordan Mailata, the 7th-round pick rugby star that finally got a big contract last year and, had a fantastic job. He missed a couple games last year, which Andre Dillard took over for him for a couple games, and actually played pretty good, pretty solid. I have to say, I don't say good things about Andre Dillard, even though I think the Eagles did Andre Dillard pretty dirty in 2019 when they already had Jason Peters here, and they pretty much redshirted him the first year, started him at right tackle, and kind of blew his confidence out of the water with 3 starts and didn't really do much with him. So I heard that Andre Dillard is on trade rumors right now, so we'll see what happens with that. And then you have LaRaven Clark that is coming off another ACL. I think he was hurt the whole entire year again, barely even played, and he plays left tackle, right guard, right tackle. So you definitely have some positions there. That you can upgrade. I think, right tackle, with Lane Johnson, you got to figure that position out soon. He's getting a lot older. And then, obviously right guard is definitely one that you have to watch out for in the future, and center. So center and right guard are my top 2 priorities. I think the Eagles will go after an offensive lineman 3rd, 4th round if that's the case. I mean, at this point, if Howie could pick a rugby star out of the 7th round and Jeff Stoughton could turn him into a starting left tackle, that a guy that never played football before, I think they could pick another good player that could really learn his first year and then kind of move him into the groove a little bit at a position if that's the case. Plus, Isaac Samalo is not even back yet. He was out the whole entire year. He's on a big contract right now. So could he fill the right guard position? Could he beat out Jack Driscoll? That's going to be the big question. So I think offensive line, they've done well for years, drafting guys. I think they've been really, we're getting a very young offensive line. The left side seems to be more strong than the right side now. But I think, I think this offensive line is still a top 5 right now. If you add another right guard, a promising one that could beat Jack Driscoll as of right now, and depending where they put Samalo, I think you're back to being the top 3 in this league and see what happens there. So it's really exciting. Now, when you go to, obviously, the tight end position, I don't know what's going to happen. Dallas Goedert got the new contract. He is the main focal point of this offense. He was last year. He was thrown to a lot more than these receivers. I don't know if they pick up a guy like McBride is definitely probably the number 1 tight end in this draft. He's really good, physical, run after the catch is fantastic. He's not twitchy. He's not like anything fast, but he's got enough speed to beat you, and he's really good at the break of his route. So McBride would probably be one of those guys they could get at tight end if that's the case. I don't know who the number 2 tight end is. It Jack Stahl? Jack Stahl did most of the dirty work with the blocking and everything like that, so I don't know what they're doing at that position as of right now. To go in free agency for a tight end to pay that extra money for a number 2, I don't think they should do it. I think they should wait for Tyree Jackson to come back because I have a lot of faith in him to compete. He just started learning the tight end position last year, but he had an ACL injury, unfortunately. So he's a big body at 6'5", 6'6". I don't know. He's big. He's a big boy. So I think Jack Stahl and Tyree Jackson could probably, maybe compete for the second tight end job. And then I don't know if they sign Richard. They sign Richard Rodgers every damn year, so he could come in as a veteran presence in the offseason if that's the case, and I would just bring him in just for the hell of it on a cheap deal until if he's going to make it or not, and help these guys out and just see the competition at the number 2 tight end position. So that should be exciting. And then really going to wide receiver, the mock drafts are all over the place. And look, Treylon Burke is definitely the number 1 receiver in this draft from Arkansas, and I would not mind the Eagles going after him. He's a great route runner. He's twitchy. He can catch every ball thrown to him. He's a contested catcher, and he's really not a big I don't even think he's a big wide receiver, not that much of a big wide receiver, and he can catch almost anything, and it's really mostly contested catches. I would go after him definitely if some of these guys are off the board and they can get a playmaker like that. I don't know what the Eagles think of Quez Watkins. That's the big problem, okay? Quez Watkins, to me, is a good player that they need to keep on him. Okay, he could be better every single year, but the quarterback position is a whole different story that we're trying to figure out right now with Jalen Hurts, the anticipation on throws, seeing guys that are wide open and not seeing guys that are wide open, and obviously missing on a lot of targets, inaccurately throwing. So, I'm just going to be honest, he's not a franchise quarterback right now. So you have to make sure the ball's getting to these guys. Devontae Smith under 1,000 yards is totally ridiculous. Quez Watkins with 647 yards, totally ridiculous. The tight ends are getting more passes than these wide receivers. It's ridiculous at this point. So I'm trying to figure out if the offensive coordinator Shane Steichen is going to be on the hot seat next year, if that's even the case, because it's on the quarterback. But these guys have they have to make it easy for Jalen Hurts. They have to help him out and not throw in bad situations where he's got to make a really tough throw. And I know that teams are going to test Jalen Hurts on his arm, and that's just the case of what's going to happen. But Treylon Burks is definitely the number 1 receiver, which I do like a lot. I've seen a lot of mock drafts with him in it, a lot. I don't know if the Eagles are interested in the wide receiver. Like I said, I don't know if the Eagles think that Quez Watkins is a number 2 receiver at this point. If not, make him the number 3. And then, you have free agency right now, so I think the Eagles go after a wide receiver in free agency. But if they don't, look for a Treylon Burke to be drafted, a Garrett Wilson, something like that, late first round for a Garrett Wilson, or, you have Drake London. That's a big body receiver. I'm not really a big fan of picking him in the first round. That's just me. You have Mechie from Alabama as well. Mechie's fast. He run routes really well. I think he's better than Rager. I don't think anyone's worse than Rager at this point. Mechie, everyone's saying that he's just speed and that's it, but I actually think he has good route running and his catching is pretty phenomenal. You know what I mean? So I think it's just more experience on an NFL level that he needs, and that's pretty much it. So I think there's plenty of receivers in this draft. Jameson Williams, another guy from Alabama, good catcher as well, and can get open easily. So I don't know if they're going to go receiver. If the Eagles go receiver in free agency, I feel like 99% they're going for wide receiver in free agency. And if they do, I'm not seeing any of these receivers get drafted to the Eagles this year. Okay, I don't see that even happening. Okay, whether it's DJ Chark, which I really want badly, or Christian Kirk, put him in the slot and then keep obviously, Christian Kirk won't be a really expensive contract because he didn't even have 1,000 yards. I mean, you know what I mean? You put him in the slot, you could move him around wherever you want, but I would put him in the slot and then put Quez Watkins on the outside opposite Devontae Smith because I really want Quez Watkins to get more touches and more chances. He deserves it. It's not all his fault. He actually caught a lot of balls this year that Jalen Hurts threw very inaccurately. There were some passes from Jalen Hurts that he threw so inaccurately that Quez Watkins had to go find the ball and aggressively catch it. I have to give him props for that. I think really the only bad play that Quez Watkins had this year was I think the end of the first half, right before they went into the locker room. He missed that wide open catch that went through his hands in the end zone. I think that was really the only catch that's really the only play that wasn't reliable for him. I mean, that was pretty much it at this point. So I know this is a long video. I know this is really long, but I want to get through this real quick. I could talk about this all day, but very excited for the scouting combine this week. If you guys haven't subscribe to the channel. We cover the Eagles every single day. We're going to be streaming the draft. We're going to be streaming the combine. We're going to be talking about all these players. We're going to be covering a lot, and we're still going over a lot of draft prospects as well. So definitely check out for more videos when they do come. But guys, I will see you guys later. You guys enjoy your day. Shake Squad up, follow side. Peace out, guys. Peace.